Welcome back, everyone. I'm the Bad Luck Gamer, and today we're doing another archetype video. Things are going to be, right now, the archetype videos are really good. I'm just trying to get used to producing, a couple of them. But I do want to know, do you like having 2 archetype videos a week? Or would you prefer a little bit more variety? I would honestly like to know. Please leave a comment down below. And also, I would like to say, like and subscribe if you're enjoying this. I kind of stopped doing that, and it shows, no one wants to do this. No one wants to beg for likes and for subscribes, but like, it's just how the market works. Is like, we remind you, and someone will always go, "Oh yeah, I should do that, huh?" And they always do it. So, I'm going to ask, but I just want to be real with y'all. I don't want to. So, please do. It really helps me out a lot. The channel is growing super fast. We're growing in a lot of different, sections on Twitter and all that kind of stuff as well. So, I really want to get the ball rolling, and I really want to keep up the momentum we've been doing. And it's all thanks to you guys. So, yeah, thank you. But enough showing out for myself. Let's talk about the video. Today, we're going to be talking about an archetype that is going to be the first of many archetypes that are more linked to one of the modules in, Pathfinder 2e. And this is going to be the Alkenstar agent dedication. Now, the Alkenstar agents are essentially like, well, okay, first of all, Alkenstar. It is a predominantly human city, area, region, I guess. It's not like a whole principality, but it's in the southern part of the Mana Wastes. It's close to Dogan's Hold. Dogan's Hold is a dwarven city, and the dwarves actually invented guns, and they trade those guns to Alkenstar. Alkenstar is essentially like a fantasy western area. There's lots of small cities, lots of small towns, It's out in the Mana Waste, so it's all deserty. They got guns. They have to have like their own martial law to keep things in order. It's really good. This one comes from, let me check real quick. Punks in a Powder Keg, which, by the way, that's a sick-ass name for a module. That's really cool. But yeah, so it has a heavy focus on the Guns and Gears book, pretty much everything that came out with that. There's a lot of really cool stuff in it. I really recommend you check it out. But this is not about that module. This is about the dedication itself. And the Alkenstar agent is really cool. You essentially play like a undercover cop in a way, a law dog, a sheriff, whatever you want to look at. Your character's job is to report back to the Duchess of Alkenstar about anything that might be a threat to Alkenstar and its people. So pretty easy, pretty simple. Now, this type of archetype is very specific to a region and the module, even more so than like the Eldori Duelist that we talked about in the last video. But I really like it. I think it's really cool. And dedications like this are the best, because a dedication, what it should add to your character is just more flavor, more story, more everything. This one in particular is really good. It really makes your character pop in the world. Your character's there. They have a purpose. It's really, really good. And if your characters are like deputized through this, even better. It's really good. Now, it does have a requirement that you're trained in at least one firearm, which is not 100% true. You need to be trained and have access to the firearm. Now, this is also an uncommon dedication, so, you have to get your DM's approval for it. It's got some cool stuff. I say it's more flavor overall for the region you want to be to, but I'm sure there's other things it could be used for your own purposes. So let's look at the initial dedication and what it actually gives you. So I did forget to mention as well that it does have you have to be trained in deception. Pretty easy. When you get the dedication, you become an expert in dedication. Plus, you become trained in your choice of either legal lore or what was it, Alkenstar lore? No, underworld lore. So one of those two, and if the one you picked you were already trained in, you can actually become an expert in that as well. Already two, skill increases, really good. Two expert dedications, which you could get at level 2, pretty good. But not only that, this gives you access to Lie to Me. Lie to Me is a really good deception feat. As long as you're talking with an individual, face to face, back and forth, they have to use your deception DC rather than your perception DC. Granted, if your deception DC is higher, if they want to lie to you. It's a really good feat. It's really good if you have a very conniving kind of character. Honestly, this dedication is really well suited for a rogue, which is very interesting considering the connotations behind it. But a lot of what this dedication is you're kind of like an undercover cop. So someone who's really good at moving behind the scenes, trying to stay low and out of everyone's way, is kind of right up the rogue's alley. So it makes a lot of sense. Loose Cannon is a really interesting feat. Now, overall, pretty much what it does is you make a ranged strike, with a firearm, and if you succeed in hitting the target, you deal extra damage equal to the number of damage dice that your weapon rolls. If you fail, though, your weapon misfires, which is unfortunate because that means you'll have to take an extra interact action to unclog the gun before you can fire another one. Or another shot. So you have to unclog, reload, then you can fire a gun. It's very costly, and honestly, I don't think firearms deserve it, but a lot of firearms do have that fatal die, which is really strong, honestly. I don't know. I feel like guns just have a little bit too much of a downside sometimes, but to be fair, in order for a gun to even misfire, you need to have an effect that says it misfires, or you just have to not in character treat your guns well, which honestly is always expected that you do. So you have to intentionally tell your DM that you're not cleaning your guns for some reason normally. Though if you pick up a gun, that's a different story, obviously. But, it's a really, really interesting feat. If you crit fail, your gun explodes, and it does a bunch of damage in a 20-foot burst where your character will more than likely be included in, and it does its normal weapon damage against a basic reflex save for everyone against your class DC. Hey, it's the class DC. We don't see you that often, so very cool. Unfortunately, very not cool because you're going to be caught in the blast. This also includes damage from your weapon's fundamental and property runes as well. So your gun pretty much gets to fire on everyone in a 20-foot radius or 20-foot burst. Unfortunately, you're just also included in that burst. Overall, Loose Cannon's pretty good. If you like rolling the dice, if you're feeling confident, it's a good way to get some extra damage dice or some extra damage points, I guess. But honestly, to me, it just doesn't seem like it's really worth it. Maybe if you're a gunslinger and you're already pretty confident in your first shot because you get that, +2 bonus. But other than that, for a lot of other classes, I think this one's could be an easy pass. It would be for me. It's interesting. I like it, but at the same time, like missing a shot is so easy, and then your gun misfires, and it's such a mess. Plant Evidence is pretty darn cool, honestly. You need to have the pickpocket skill feat in order to take this one. You have to be good with your hands, and they have to be comfortable reaching in other people's pockets. This is a feat that has a lot of interesting abilities. Now, I'm sure that this feat has all kinds of very creative uses, which all the DMs are going to roll their eyes at maybe. But I think there's some really fun stuff that can be done. Essentially, if you can successfully pocket an item into someone else's pocket without them knowing is the biggest thing. So it's really good for, you beat up a thug and you slip an item on them and they're like, oh, I don't know how that crack got on me, or whatever. There's a lot of really interesting ways you can do it. Another interesting thing as well is if you're a ruffian racket rogue, you can do this as a free action whenever you successfully shove a target, which is pretty cool, and honestly just kind of further reinforces that the Alkenstar agent is pretty much just like a rogue archetype dedication. It's interesting. I still think that this can work with a lot of different classes. I think it's really, really cool. Now, I guess some specifics as well. The item needs to be of light or negligible bulk, but I'm sure some player can invent some kind of bomb that can go off after a certain number of rounds after you put it in someone's pocket. I don't know. There's a lot of interesting things that can be done with this one. This feat really shines in someone who's looking to use it and who thinks outside the box. Otherwise, if you're not really thinking of using it, it's probably another pass feat. But I like it personally. I think there's a lot of really cool things you can do with it. Quick Draw is probably one of the best feats in the Alkenstar Agent dedication. It's really good. If you take no other feat at level 4, take this one. Quick Draw is phenomenally good. I like it with thrown item builds. It's really good because you can take it out of your pocket and throw it as a single action. It's really good. You can have different kinds of thrown weapons that have different maybe property runes on them or do different things. It's a really, really solid feat to pick up in this archetype dedication in general. And honestly, there's going to be tons of times where you're going to want to use a specific weapon, or maybe you're currently unarmed. It's just very nice to be able to draw a weapon and strike an enemy, especially in a game like Pathfinder 2E that has a lot of rules about drawing, sheathing, swapping your hands, or doing whatever when it comes to weapons. Anything that smooths that process out and makes it easier for you is only a good thing, and this is an A tier feat, 100%. Reactive Pursuit is interesting. There's several other feats that do the same thing that they call different things, even though they match them up for the archetypes. I don't know. It's a really weird one. Anyway, it allows you to, if an enemy is adjacent to you and strides, as long as you can end adjacent to them. So they stride, they make their full movement, as long as you can be adjacent to them by the end of it, as a reaction, you can follow after them. Not only that, but if you have a climb, swim, or fly speed, or burrow speed, I guess, you can use those as well. This could be really good. This is actually really solid on a swashbuckler, because swashbucklers are super fast. Monks are also super fast as well. But I feel like a swashbuckler would be more likely to take the Alkenstar dedication, or Alkenstar agent dedication, sorry. And it would be really, really good on a swashbuckler if you're picking it up as a part of the free archetype bonus that I recommend that all tables use. This is just a really solid one to take. Honestly, I feel like this is kind of not a great feat, though, because if you have attack of opportunity, you might as well use it, but there might be a reason why you want to keep pace with them, and for whatever reason, if you don't have attack of opportunity or any other reactions that can be used on an enemy that's moving, then yeah, why not? You know, a reaction is better than no reaction, and being able to stay close to an enemy, maybe you have a built, man, that's the thing too, like, excuse me, a Magus could really use this because Magus need to use all their actions to keep up their spell strikes. So being able to not waste a move or use an action on a stride action is actually pretty solid. So I guess depending on your kind of build, this could be very beneficial if you have a very rough build, especially if you're using guns too, because there are some melee gun builds, which we'll get to here in a second. Running reload is chef's kiss. It's such a good feat. It's such a good feat. Reloading is annoying, but being able to either stride, sneak, or hide or stealth or hide. Is it hide? Right? It has to be hide. No, you step, stride, or sneak, then interact to reload is really good. If the enemy has attack of opportunity, you can step away from them and interact to reload, and that doesn't provoke attack of opportunity unless they have a reach weapon. It's super good. Being able to stealth and reload is really, really good. This is just really good. It keeps the flow of combat going. This is an S tier feat, 100%. If you're using any firearm or any ranged weapon that requires reloading, running reload is just an absolute must. Prepare papers is a very interesting one. First of all, this is a skill feat, so you actually pick it up when you get a skill feat, not when you get a archetype or class feat. So that's interesting, and not many archetypes actually have that, though its feature is questionable. Normally, when you have to create a forgery, you have to spend a day or like a week or something to create the forgery. This allows you to do it in a matter of hours or an hour, up to, like 10 minutes per page you're trying to forge. It's very specific, but there might be, maybe someone has really used the forgery skill like to its utmost ability. I would really like to see someone really get a lot of use out of this, and it's a skill feat, and honestly, depending on how your feats are set up, this could just be a good pickup. And it, again, not a class feat, not an archetype feat, so you don't really have to, well, it is an archetype feat, but you don't get it for your class / bonus archetype feat section. So honestly, this is just a good pickup for a skill feat if maybe you need some forging. Skill feats can be really easy to be flexible with in your character, and retraining into it is also not a bad idea if you ever need it. So, overall, pretty okay feat. Flash your badge is interesting. It's a cone demoralize for 2 actions. Now, I don't see this being very optimal because one of the big things, well, it gets the visual trait, which is good. It can bypass some language barrier stuff, maybe, if they whoever it is capable of understanding what's going on. But if the person doesn't commit a crime, they get like 1 success. Or if they committed a crime, if a target creature hasn't broken a law, you get 1 success worse than what you got. So that's kind of a lame stipulation already. And also the likelihood of getting more than like 2 or 3 creatures in this cone is not high. 3 is at least more than breaking even. 2 is breaking even for the action economy, but you could have just used demoralize twice against 2 different targets, so it's really not worth it then. So you need to be able to hit at least 3 targets to do so. A 30-foot cone's not bad whatsoever, and it's got some interesting implications. I think it's interesting. If anything, the aesthetic is great. You come up and like, I'm with the Alkenstar, and watching people panic. I think that's cool. I think this would just be a really hard feat to get a lot of use out of, but depending on the campaign, probably for Punxsutawn and Powder Keg, this is a really, really good feat. I don't know. I'm just saying that optimally, unless you're hitting 3 targets, there's no point to having the feat at all. And they also have ways of reducing the demoralize, where a normal demoralize, you just have to worry about a language barrier. And this doesn't even say that it removes the language barrier problem. It just gains the visual trait, which is interesting. So I don't know. I think this one's interesting. I think it's okay, but I don't necessarily think it's worth the effort. Snapshot's pretty okay. It allows you to use a ranged weapon to make a reaction strike that normally can only be made with a melee weapon as long as the target is adjacent to you, and the strike has a 5-foot reach for all intents and purposes. There's a lot of language in this feat, and the only thing you really need to know is if you have attack of opportunity, you can attack an adjacent target who procs it with a ranged weapon. That's it. That's all it does. There are some melee builds, as I mentioned. Bullet Dancer has it as well, that this could be very useful, but I find this feat to be, it depends on how attached you are to your gun, and then how much you plan on being close to an enemy with your gun or ranged weapon or whatever you're using to proc it. Snapshot's okay. It can be good, it can be optimal, and Attack of Opportunity is a really great feat to pair with it. And who knows, maybe your class offers a unique reaction against an enemy that moves adjacent to them. So this could be really good. This could be really, really good, but I think it's very niche as far as feats go. Instant opening is amazing. Unfortunately, it's a level 18 feat, so not only are you not likely to use it, but you're not probably gonna get to use it all that much. Who knows though? Each game is different. Essentially, you just pick a target within 30 feet, and you're like, you next, and they're flat-footed to you until the end of your next turn. And there's no stipulation. It has a concentrate, tag, so you can't do it while raging, but, probably not going to be an issue, honestly. And yeah, you can just keep using this over and over and over again. So you can just perpetually have an enemy flat-footed to you. There's no save, nothing. It just has either an auditory or visual trait. So if the enemy is blind, deaf, and dumb, you're going to struggle with it. But other than that, this is a really, really good feat. And if you're using the bonus archetype dedication roll, this is a really good bonus feat to pick up. At level 18, though, there's a lot of really good capstone abilities. It's hard to weigh. This is really good. Being able to just 100% make an enemy flat-footed to you with no, they can't resist it whatsoever. It could be a dragon. You can still do it. It's really good. I just don't see most players really getting to use this. And, that's kind of it. That's Alkenstar Agent in a nutshell. This is a really good archetype dedication if you're in the right setting / campaign for it. Now, it does have some really, really good just general feats, running reload, and what was the other one? I said it earlier. Quick draw. Both of those feats are really, really good. Really good to augment your character. The archetype dedication itself can get you 2 expert proficiencies at level 2 and a skill feat. That's value right there. It does have its restrictions, but if you're trying to use this, obviously you're trying to weave it in with your DM, or your DM has a different kind of setting that your character would apply for. So, overall, this was good. It has a lot of flavor, though. There's a lot of really cool things, and I would say if you push yourself to get the most out of this archetype dedication, you would have a lot of fun with the character you made for it. I think if you really tried to embody what this archetype dedication is trying to be, you would make a very interesting and very fun character overall. And that's with a lot of the archetype dedications, I think in general, is a lot of them are really good to accent your character. But you have to decide whether that's good enough to, invest in this or not. I like the Alkenstar Agent. I would use it if I was doing something like in Alkenstar, obviously. I don't know if I'd use this even if there was like a setting change somewhere else. I like the lore reasons behind it. I think it's very interesting. The roleplay potential just attached to this archetype dedication is really good. I think it's very solid. But yeah, this was the longer one than I was expecting. There was just kind of a little bit more feats, and I think a little bit more explanation needed with this one compared to some of the other ones. But maybe I just got a little wordy with it. I don't know. If you liked it, let me know. If you didn't like it, you'll let me know anyway, so I don't even need to worry about that. But with that, we're going to go ahead and end it here. Thank you all so much for watching. Good luck with your games. Leave the bad luck to me, and I'll see you all next time. Bye.